The New York Times published this article about how the dating apps themselves are starting to suffer from the lack of Gen Z participation.
I'm so over dating apps being garbage and overcharging us, and then when we complain and give them actual feedback, they just ignore it completely and use Gen Z as a scapegoat. So no, we don't think dating apps are cringy. We think dating is exhausting. There's a lot of other huge issues that people are refusing to address, and also you've just overall priced us out of using your app. So let's talk about it today because I mostly agree with that creator. But all these big news sources and dating apps keep receiving all this data and then writing these articles interpreting the information completely wrong. Because all these articles keep citing the same research that says that Gen Z doesn't want to pay for dating apps just because they think it's cringy. And you know who is in charge of all those research studies? Literally the dating apps. So obviously I'm not going to trust that. And another piece of data they keep interpreting wrong is that people are using dating apps less and less, especially Gen Z. So from that data, they reach the incorrect conclusion, which I know this because a lot of news sources have reached out for a comment from me about this, and I try and tell them and they won't listen to me and they just don't use my statement at all. Incorrectly conclude that that means that people are actually going in real life and meeting people to date instead. I try to comment saying, no, of the few people I know who are in relationships, they still met on dating apps. But if you look at like US Census data, and the percentage of single people a few years back versus the percentage of single people now, that number has skyrocketed. People just in general aren't dating at all. And that question is where the real article lies, and I keep trying to encourage them to dive deeper into that. Because why aren't people dating, right? Maybe the same reason we aren't buying these subscription prices. They've been hiked to the sky and we don't have money to pay for it. Gen Z also just doesn't have the time in their schedule because we're busy working all the time, trying to figure out how to pay bills and continue to live. Dating's also become extremely volatile and hostile. I was literally berated by a man on Hinge today who had seen my content and was upset and angry that I was spilling boys' secrets to try and keep women safe. Like, this is what we're dealing with when we do try and date. Women are tired of being treated like human garbage, and the app's just allowing it to happen. Look up the 4B movement happening. And no, paying for dating apps isn't cringy, it's downright unaffordable. Back when dating apps used to be like $10 a month, or you could get like 6 months for like $40, yeah, I did that once or twice because it was more affordable and it used to be worth it back then. You would have access to all the features. But now some of these apps are charging you hundreds of dollars for these things, and that's just not worth it, especially when you're going to be treated terribly. So of course they have to make these incredibly biased studies to try and trick people into thinking Gen Z is the issue to avoid actually addressing any of the real issues happening in dating.